Hi folks, well something a bit different for a change. Decided to take a break from talking about the CBR that I've been building, and I'll show you the bike that I use as my daily driver to get to work and for getting about. I've mentioned in previous videos that I've got a Yamaha Tundercat which I used to get from A to B, and this is it. It's quite an old bike. It's a 1998 Yamaha Tundercat, but it's still pretty good condition. I bought it in June 2016, so I've had it about less than a year. What would that be? Where are we? February or May, June. I've had it about 8 months, or something like that, 7 or 8 months. The guy that had it before me basically used it as a weekend bike, so like the mileage is super low, or it was when I got it. It was 23,000 miles on the clock, just over 23,000. Like I said, I've had it 8 months, and it's now, as you can see, I don't know if that shows in the video, but 27,500. So I've put 4,500 on in the last 8 months, which I think is about, I'm not very good at maths in my head, but I think it's something like 700 miles a month, or about 150 to 200 miles a week, which is basically because I use the bike to commute to work, and I also use it, for just everything basically. Social stuff, getting groceries, you name it. The reason I use it all the time is because I don't have a car. I've had a lot of cars over the years, but I don't really like cars. They're not very reliable, and when they go wrong they tend to cost an absolute fortune to fix, because if you try and fix them yourself you tend to run into problems, whereas with a bike you can pretty much fix anything yourself. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. So in terms of kind of maintenance and stuff like that, I've not really done too much on it because I've not really needed to. I changed the engine oil and the brake pads front and rear as soon as I got it. I've just changed the engine oil again recently. It's just had a new oil change for 10W40 fully, not fully synthetic, semi-synthetic I think it was that I used. And it's just had a new clutch cable. I just fitted the new clutch cable the other day, and I've just also had new tyres put on it. That was £150 for new tyres. I've got these Maxxis, I think they're like, what do they call them, Super Sport Max or something like that. Oh, there we go, Super Max Sport. So there's Maxxis Super Max Sport, which is kind of like a sports sort of road tyre. It's got tread, but it's not too much tread, so you've got kind of quite a lot of grip from them, especially in the dry, but I mean they're not too bad in the wet either. I pretty much put Maxxis on everything. Put Maxxis on the CBR. I had Maxxis on my Honda VTR 1000 before I sold that. I pretty much just stick to that brand because I just kind of like them. They're a good price, and you kind of know what you're getting. I kind of know what I'm getting with them, so I've had other tyres in the past like Avons and Bridgestones and stuff like that, and they're okay as well. Maybe a little bit more expensive. Maxxis is kind of at the lower end of the middle market, but I like them and they're fine, they're cheap, so that's what I go for. What else has it had in terms of maintenance? Oil and tyres and brake pads. I put new brake pads in the rear again recently. You probably can't really see from here, but on motorbikes it's quite easy to check the thickness of the pads. You can pretty much just look at the caliper and you can see how much pad thickness you've got left. So it needs to get a new chain and sprockets on. The chain and sprockets, the chain's kind of rusty and dirty and it's near the end of its adjustment, so I'm going to get a new kit. It's about 70 or 80 quid off eBay. I'll just fit that myself. I might make a video about that possibly. In terms of like modifications to the bike, I've not done any modifications to it since I got it. There were 1 or 2 modifications on it when I bought it, like the previous owner had fitted this power bronze screen, which is like a kind of double bubble screen, and it's quite good for keeping the weather off you, and it also looks quite good because it's kind of like a dark tint. He'd also fitted like these little mini indicators, which are quite neat, and it's got a Delcovic end can. It's not massively loud. I'm going to start it in a second, you can hear what it sounds like. It's got crash mushrooms as well, which is quite a good idea because obviously it minimises damage to kind of the fairing and engine cases and stuff like that if you come off. What else has it got? Oh, it's got braided brake lines as well, and actually Goodrich braided brake lines, which is better than what I normally buy. I normally get kind of like unbranded braided brake lines from fitting them, but so it's got kind of bits and pieces, but obviously nothing kind of too over the top in terms of modifications. It's also got the Oxford heated grips, but they don't actually work. Reason being that I disconnected them because they were draining the battery all the time. So I just unwired them and left it at that. Also it had a data tool alarm when I bought it, and the alarm was going off like all through the night and waking up all the neighbours and everything. So I just basically pulled it out, just like ripped the module out, threw it away, and bypassed it with like just a couple of little kind of U-shaped bypasses wires. Just put them into the end of the plug, and that bypassed the alarms. So that's kind of how I've been running it. So that's pretty much it really. In terms of kind of riding and stuff, it's dead comfortable. It's a really comfortable bike. Riding position's good. Seats maybe a wee bit low for me. I would like a kind of higher seat because I'm really tall, but it's not too bad. The screen and the fairing really keeps the weather off you as well, which is pretty good. So oh yeah, and the other thing is I keep a roll bag on it all the time. I like these Oxford 50 litre aqua roll bags. They're really good for like putting, oops, I just dropped my keys. Putting groceries in and stuff like that, obviously because I've got no car. It's kind of useful to have a big bag. They hold an enormous amount of stuff. You can actually get like three sort of full carrier bags in there, so it's pretty handy. So just start it up. It's got a steering lock on it as well, which is kind of standard on most bikes, and it's basically what I use as security. Just give it a bit of choke. I need to put it in neutral actually. I think that's in neutral. Hope it's in neutral. Right, here we go. And obviously that's with the choke on. I just let it warm up a little bit. The trim level is quite good on the Tundercats as well. Like you've got these sort of black sort of black plastic trims around the inside of the fairing and everything. It's all kind of quite, and like right up to the top of the fairing you've got plastic trims and stuff like that, which is quite good for a 600, because usually 600s and you know, basic kind of sports bikes are usually a bit more Spartan than that. It's kind of almost like the kind of thing you get on a really big kind of top end bike like a Hayabusa or something like that. You kind of tend to see all this kind of fitted out dashboard and everything. So I quite like that. It gives like the feel of, makes it feel like a bigger bike. It kind of feels like a bigger bike. It kind of feels like a big bike in general, like the general kind of, I don't know, just like the kind of size of it and the quality of the bodywork and everything. You don't really feel like you're on a kind of cheap little 600, you know. So I'm just going to knock the choke off and see if it'll. That's with the choke off. It's got 13,000 RPM red line, but I hardly ever take it that high, you know. You don't need to, even as a 600 it's pretty quick, you know, but Obviously there's a bit of that looks like smoke, but I don't think it's actually smoke. It's just steam. It's just because it's a really cold and wet day. But I'll just give it a rev up anyway. Obviously it kind of sounds like a 600. You can tell from the engine note that it's a 600 because it's a little bit, you know, it's not as, the engine note's not as deep as a 1000, but still, I don't think it sounds too bad, you know. The Thundercats just have a single headlight. To be honest, I kind of prefer bikes with twin headlights, but there's not a lot you can do about that unless you're actually going to get into kind of like major bodywork modifications, which I'm not going to do on the daily driver because I don't really want to mess about with it, you know. The other thing that these bikes have is they have the ram air. Again, you probably can't see on the video, but there's kind of like mesh in there that goes into the airbox, and apparently it gives it a few more bhp. I think on a dyno they measure about 95 bhp at the rear tyre at whatever, probably like 11,000-12,000 rpm or something. Apparently the ram air gives them a little bit more, kind of puts them closer to 100 brake or something like that. So the other thing it's got is quite nice. It's got the Yamaha blue spot calipers, which they've replaced with a silver spot. Again, they look quite cool, they're kind of anodized, and they're quite good quality brakes. Like for the year bike, obviously there are kind of more advanced brakes that have come out since then, but they're not too bad for kind of a late 90s bike. Just remembered something else. Got cracks in the front mudguard there and there. What happened was I actually hit a pheasant. I was on the way to a college course. I was doing a college course, well, evening classes actually, last autumn, and I was on my way up there. I was doing about 60 miles an hour, and a pheasant just ran across in front of me, and I couldn't stop in time, and it just went like whoomp into the front of the bike, and I looked in my rear view mirror, and it's just like a cloud of feathers behind me. And when I got there, I had a look at the bike, and there was just like a big kind of crack in the mudguard. Obviously the mudguard hasn't actually come apart, but I think probably what I'll do is I'm going to get a plastic welding kit when I get around to it, and just weld that back together again, and then maybe just sand it and try and paint it, or I might just paint the whole mudguard black or whatever, or silver or whatever. But in terms of the colour, I quite like silver. I'm a fan of like neutral colours like silvers and whites and blacks and stuff, so I like silver. I'm not so sure about the yellow. I'm not really a fan of like reds and yellows and stuff, but overall I think it looks not too bad, you know, for a kind of late 90s 600 sports bike. It looks quite class, I think. But so that's pretty much it really. There's not a lot more I can say about it than that. I am going to replace the chain and sprocket soon, so I might do a video about that, but we'll have to see how it goes. Well, thanks very much for watching.